Who do you trust? When you're talking about money, that can be a dicey question. So we're going to talk about where it starts, choosing a trustee. Today I want to bring clarity to the role of a trustee and add weight to the importance of your trustee selection. Let's begin with the trustee's role across three responsibilities as the industry sees it. Number one, administer the trust. That's keeping the assets safe and reporting on the values and activities to various parties. Number two, get the trust invested. And number three, distribute trust assets to the beneficiary. Seems pretty straightforward, but I contend this glosses over the inherent difficulties and the primary responsibility. So let's dive in further. First and often, the trustee is selected by the trust creator with no choice afforded to the beneficiary. This creates an arranged marriage. That's a difficult start because the beneficiary wasn't consulted and they must deal with this other strange individual. They're also going to realize that they were given less freedom. Normally, one would give up some freedom only in exchange for a higher benefit, which the beneficiary doesn't know about. So it's critical for the trustee to be clear that they're actually an advocate for the beneficiary to help strengthen this relationship from the start. Because what is lost in this transition and is not clear up front, the trustee's role is actually to support the beneficiary. That's the important role. This means education plus the need to facilitate. And this isn't so easy because there are multiple relationships involved. There's the legal relationship to abide by the governance rules, and there is the behavioral relationship, which is more complex than a standard relationship. Plus, there are typically other people involved, like the remaining next generation of beneficiaries to consider and to cope with. Jay Hughes is a luminary in this arena, having written many books, like Family Wealth, where he illustrates the trustee's ongoing responsibilities as 6 hands. The first hand fulfills the trust creator's wishes. The second addresses the income beneficiary's needs. The third considers the remainder's future goals. Together, this encapsulates, in Jay's eloquent words, the trustee's role as humane distributor. But continuing on, the fourth hand must oversee the trust investments and the investment advisor, while the fifth hand navigates tax matters, and the sixth hand must also know the legal and courts systems. Wow, this is a tall order, requiring commitment and ongoing effort. So who do you select? Often a family member is selected, but there can be conflicts with this. Suppose the trustee is also the guardian of your children. They will have to cope with fairness issues, especially regarding their own children. They can be tempted to raid money from the trust with the justification of support obligations. Or more likely, they will feel awkward tapping those trust funds, so they will subsidize your children to their own detriment. Either way, it seems a separate trustee could help. And you can select a professional fiduciary trustee, which means they have the highest duty of trustworthiness imposed by law. So there are advantages to hiring a professional trustee. They hold a duty to care. But will they actually care? A professional trustee's duty is to care about the financial assets, but not necessarily to reflect the trust creator's values. This is the heart of the issue. The trustee's role is to prepare the beneficiary for their eventual ownership, preserving and growing the capital along the way. Yes, financial capital, but more importantly, the human capital of the beneficiary. The trustee is in a unique position to be an extraordinarily positive force for the beneficiary. So how do we make this happen? See, the trustee holds ownership of the trust for an interim period of time in like a suspended state. And since the trustee holds ownership, the jurisdiction of that trust may follow the trustee to another state, say one with no income taxes. The trust creator's role. The trust creator can go beyond the boilerplate language offered by the attorney to convey clear guidelines and expectations. They can supplement this with a legacy letter. We did an episode on that that's worth checking out. They can also educate the beneficiary prior to the arrangement or give the beneficiary the right to choose someone. Because again, the beneficiary is giving up their freedom and entering into a long-lasting relationship. The trust creator can also arrange for co-trustees or install a trust protector who can step in to resolve disputes. As for the beneficiary's role, they can understand the terms of the trust. Actually read it, to understand the guidelines as well as their rights and the trustee's duties and responsibilities. The beneficiary can collaborate with the trustee for their own benefit, getting educated to a level of competence so that they can operate responsibly. After all, the beneficiary should aspire to become a thoughtful fellow decision maker, essentially relegating the trustee's role to a mere representative when needed. Ultimately, the beneficiary should appreciate the guidance as well as the gift. As for the trustee's role, they can move beyond the classic roles of administrator, investor, and gatekeeper. By implementing a mentoring program, ideally they'll become a role model of sorts, knowing that the main goal is to represent the beneficiary to help them pursue their happiness and to get their greatest return on life. This is critically important. I hope this information resonates with you. If it does, share it and check out our full episode on legacy letters and subscribe to get more. See you on the next one. But until then, keep building.